Welcome to Yelling Into the Void, a podcast discussing and exploring topics in World of Warcraft. I'm Tevin. I'm joined as always by Scott. And Scott, we are staring down the barrel of midnight. The pre-patch event for people listening has already started and is starting tomorrow for you and I. And there's a lot going on right now, but not necessarily like anything flashy or like I don't know. It's this like weird space of like there's a lot of things happening, but nothing's like really noteworthy. Nothing's really like pre-patch happens every single expansion. So like that's not really anything special. They're re-releasing TBC for the third fucking time. Like,
I think there's a lot going on right now is a very generous statement, and that one that I do not agree with.
Well, either way, there's a few things that we want to cover today. So first and foremost, we will be delving into the realm of a little bit of drama that has happened in the space of World of Warcraft and people making things on their free time for this game and, everything like that. Don't want to say the A word because sometimes we piss people off when we say that word.
So. Oh, and there's no chance of that happening today, right? Yeah.
Other than that, there's a couple of other things that we should talk about this coming Thursday, which I released the last episode on Friday. I was planning to do that again, but maybe I'll release it Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know.
You should release this episode before all the stuff comes out, so we either look brilliant or no one cares that we look like idiots.
But so Thursday, there's a huge announcement. Well, I guess assuming huge announcement for I don't know. There's going to be roadmap, but
yes,
we're assuming there's going to be more.
So it is. Yeah, they announced earlier today, Monday the 26th, that they're doing like a 35th. It's like the 35th anniversary of Blizzard Entertainment. They're doing announcements for every single game that they have. Hearthstone, Diablo, WoW. So they're gonna have announcements on what's coming next for all of them. They have said that part of the WoW announcement is going to be the annual kind of timeline thing they've been doing for the last few years for both classic and for retail. But I think a lot of people are speculating maybe that's not the only thing they're going to be talking about. But it is weird because it is weird to do an announcement for your announcement. Like they cut together an entire trailer for this announcement. If it's nothing big, I think one of the reasons people are surprised about this is because this is also going to be a BlizzCon year. There's going to be a BlizzCon this fall. And so if this were announcing anything big, you think they would, I mean, I guess 9 months is a long time to hold an announcement, but you think they would be saving like their big guns for BlizzCon. It's a weird time for WoW because not only do I think there's nothing retail wise to really announce right now, there's nothing like retail wise to announce in 9 months either. It'll be too early for Last Titan. We'll be in season 2 by September, October, whenever BlizzCon is. We'll be in season 2 by then, but we'll be early in season 2. So like the most we could get is maybe a preview of what season 3 and the end of the expansion is going to look like, but it's still too early for Last Titan. So we're in this weird place. So I think that's got a lot of people speculating. And Tevin, what are the people speculating the most about right now?
I think that the most speculation that's going on right now is going to be around Classic, and namely Classic Plus.
Yes.
So there's been a lot. So if anybody watches any Classic, I'm going to call them Classic Andy streamers, but like people, a lot of them swapped over to RuneScape. So it's kind of like weird to call them out, but like Sardako is a very, 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 very big advocate of Classic Plus. Zaryu is another one. But they seem almost convinced that it's coming. And it's coming soon, at least being announced soon. So I would not be shocked if that is something that gets announced on Thursday, or at least announced in BlizzCon. There's also a Classic Plus project website that went up. This is not Blizzard official, but it's like a place where they want you to go add in like what you expect or think for Classic Plus so that they can have one central location for that. I don't know what the point of it is if it isn't Blizzard official, because they just might ignore it. But either way, it's neat to see what people are thinking. But yeah, Classic Plus is one thing that I think very well might get announced or at least teased Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I am relatively safe on making predictions because I risk nothing, but it just seems to me that this is kind of inevitable at this point. Now, I'm not going to make any specific predictions on what it would ever actually end up looking like, but I think if you look at the popularity of Classic as a game mode right now, and then you look at what's been happening over the last few years as they've been kind of slowly progressing through expansions, and you can see the numbers. Every new expansion from Wrath on to Mop right now has seen a reduction in numbers. Presumably, they will do WoD Classic and Legion Classic, and they're just going to do that. But I think we're going to continue to see those numbers like steadily decline. It just seems to make sense to me that they know that the real drive of this whole project is classic is vanilla World of Warcraft, maybe even the Burning Crusade. And they can't just keep doing this anniversary server thing again and again. I mean, maybe they could get away with doing it like one or two more times, but like eventually people will just be like, come on. So yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a real opportunity here for maybe relatively low amount of dev time, depending on how they do it, to just say, okay, we're just going to be in active development on this phase of the game now. And that's just what we're going to do. And what that looks like and what decisions they make, who knows? I think it's going to be a really impossible lift to please everyone. But I think that's true in retail as well. And they still release product there. So yeah, I mean, what is this going to be announced on Thursday? No, is what I'm saying. What I think is going to be announced on Thursday is they're going to put some weird thing on the WoW Classic timeline that's going to make everyone think that it's going to be announced at the end of the year. You know how they put like the Hearthstone with the roof over it on the retail timeline before they even announced housing? And then they did like they made the timeline turn green at the end of it, and everyone was like, okay, so housing and Legion Remix I think they're going to do something like that for a Classic Plus, but I don't think they're going to be saying anything today or this week.
That's fair. The other thing that I was going to say is if we are like talking timeline, then we're going to kind of get a look into what we're expecting for Midnight as well. I'm assuming there's going to be the same rollout cadence that we had for The War Within, given it's in the same trilogy. But they were still toying around with potentially having shorter expansion cycles. So we might get a sneak peek into that too, if that's
maybe
what to do for Midnight.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I think one of the other things is like so what do you think about this? So I've seen some speculation online that the season 2 will be teased in this announcement on Thursday. That would be kind of weird, right?
Yeah, the game isn't even out yet.
Right? like, let's start hyping up the next season. But it's not like they haven't done this before. Well, they haven't done exactly that, but they've done a version of this where like 2 weeks into season 1, they told us what the balance changes in the next big patch were going to be, and we're like,
yeah, I hated that.
What?
I hated that. I hated that so much.
So, I mean, I think like a lot of people have guessed that season 2 is going to be trolls. There's that island off of the troll zone with the snake Loa, and I think that's probably a pretty safe guess. So I think that'll be teased. I guess what I'm saying here, my bold specific prediction here, is that we are getting nothing outside the timelines. I think that's all we're getting WoW wise. But I think they're going to sprinkle a bunch of Easter eggs and clues into the timelines because they like to have fun with that. So I think that's all. They're probably going to try to hype up. This is probably a marketing ploy to hype up Midnight a little bit because, I think our anecdotal conversation last week is we're not the only ones having that one. I think they are probably having that internally at Blizzard as well. And so that their marketing apparatus is really starting to spin up to start really hyping the expansion. This is going to be part of it. So they probably got some, every expansion has had two big like full motion video trailers to it, right? They have like the one that they do at announcement, and then they do another one near release that is like a lot more specific. Like I think The War Within had the one with Thrall and Anduin in the desert, but then they also released one that was just like we got to see an Earthen and we got to see the troll people that are the new race this time, and we got to see what's her name from the Arathi like putting on her armor, and it was like this more specific to the characters of the story hype up video. I think we're gonna have another one of those for midnight, and maybe that's what we'll get on Thursday. They'll release that.
I'd be interested to see if we're gonna get another, like, since this is another big anniversary, maybe we'll get a big anniversary event in game too. Like I know the last one was like the Warcraft franchise, but maybe we'll get something Blizzard specific in game too, like an in-game event.
Could be. It's probably just gonna be the last one.
Again. Yeah, but either way, I don't know what else to really say. Again, we're just speculating about what's going to be announced on Thursday, so hopefully maybe there's some truth to what we're saying outside of just the like stuff we were confirmed that we were going to get. But we'll see. Scott, I think it might be time for us to dive into a little bit of drama that's happened in the past couple weeks.
All right, let's do this. How many people can we piss off today? Is the answer everyone? Because I think that's a real possibility.
Well, for what it's worth, I think that there is a lot going on here and a lot to unpack. So obviously with all of the add-on changes, that kind of demoralized a lot of the add-on devs, and some of them kind of threw in the towel early and then retracted the statement, and then they were still developing things. There were people still going gung-ho on add-ons. First off, can we just talk about, before we like fully dive into the drama, and we kind of covered this a couple weeks ago, but like we need to talk about what Blizzard's TOS is and kind of how we feel about add-ons, and therefore add-ons being paid for. Because like as it currently stands, the way that add-ons that are paid get around the whole TOS issue is you get the add-on for free. You get the base functionality and you can just download it for free. Now, some add-ons like Zygor or like Rested XP don't really function without a guide then to go with it, and then you buy the guide. So in a sense, in my opinion, that's still a paid add-on. Now, there are other things like Weak Auras, where Weak Auras itself is not paid, and you can do anything you want in it. You have all the functionality at your fingertips. You can do it, but you can pay for somebody else's Weak Auras, and people do that. I think Liquid Weak Auras paid.
The Liquid Weak Auras are not paid. They're raid Weak Auras, but they have that Liquid Timeline thing.
Oh yeah.
Which I think was technically a Weak Aura, but that fancy timeline thing, that was a paid thing. Yeah. You had to pay for that.
So either way, I want to know how you're feeling, Scott, because in my opinion, things like Rested XP and things like Zygor are paid add-ons. Now, albeit I gave the caveat already on like how they're not technically, but they don't really function without the paid part. So
yeah, I mean, I think once again, your and I's conversation, however many months ago that was pretty prescient, because this has come up again in a big way. I think this is something that Blizzard needs to clarify, because I mean, with stuff like Weak Auras, okay, I can see the idea that, you know, in Weak Auras, you can basically do whatever you want. You can create any Weak Aura you want. And so the add-on by itself is extremely powerful, and that is free. but the packs are what everyone wants.
It's like paying for convenience, right?
Yeah, I could see that argument, but you're exactly right. The things like rested XP, which is just like, that is a clear, just maneuvering around the rules in a way that is so transparent and obvious that you just kind of throw up your hands and go like, come on. like like and so I think it is up to the company, especially now. I think, but we should say that the reason why this has come up, and I know we're going to get into the drama in a second, but the reason why this has come up is because in an ecosystem in which WeakAuras no longer exists, and you don't have this incredibly powerful one size fits all add-on that can be infinitely customizable, but rather you need a series of different add-ons to do different things that you could do in a thing like WeakAuras. Suddenly we're back to this idea of like, okay, what is the most powerful feature? Is it the add-on or is it the profile? And we're just kind of now smack dab in the middle of this again. And I think it is up to the company that set the rule to clarify the rule. And arguably these things have been breaking the rule the entire time, and they've let this slide. And now this matters more than ever right now. So I think that, and I think that by the way, the rule that they released, I think was from 2009. I think it was a 2009 statement where they clarified their stance on add-ons. And like, that's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. I was still a young man back then.
Well, okay. So the reason we ultimately are bringing all this up is, like Scott said, we live in this ecosystem now where I think we're starting to see the fruits of it. And I think what Scott had predicted might actually happen a couple episodes ago is coming to fruition, where it's like things are actually getting more difficult and more annoying to do in the absence of WeakAuras, and therefore you're more incentivized to not, like, you don't want to do it, so you're more incentivized to pay somebody who already has a pack or something like that you can just grab it all and you're done. And so, since we're living in this world, there are UIs that are being created. A lot of UIs are based off of Elf UI. Some just use Bartender, some use other specific add-ons, and then they kind of intermingle everything together. However, there was one creator, and we've talked about him before, Quasi, who was kind of building his own add-on. And then it was never paywalled before, but going into Midnight, it was going to end up being paywalled.
So this is one thing I just want to clarify on, because I'm not clear on it, and I just want to state it for the record. It is behind a paywall right now. He has always done this thing where like in beta, in pre-release version of his add-on was paywalled, and then when the actual game came out, he released it free.
Sure.
I don't know if that was the plan for his QUI thing he developed for Midnight, whether it was his plan to release it publicly for free or not. I've not been able to find confirmation on that, so I don't want to definitively say he was going to keep it paywalled. All we know that as of right now, in pre-patch, before it got deleted off the face of the earth, it was, yes, behind his Patreon. You had to pay him money to get access to QUI or whatever.
And so that being said, and I'm glad you called that out, because that's kind of what I was going off of, that before it was never like in the actual game. Beta is such a fleeting moment that it just like kind of gets forgotten about in my head after a little bit of time. So, but yeah, so we had QUI, we had Quasi's UI, and that was doing some things that was very similar to Elf UI. And so I guess to break this down into two parts, one part that I think is the actual issue that I think a lot of people were kind of like sour on, and that's the like putting an add-on behind a paywall.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other part where these two add-ons were doing calculations essentially that were more or less the same, using the same algorithms to do it. And the creator of LVUI posted some code and was claiming that Quasi was stealing code from him, and not crediting him or anything like that, and then putting it behind a paywall. Again, I think that the code in question, as somebody who has a little bit of a background in that, isn't something that you can really claim wholeheartedly as your own, because it's just the use of algorithms, if anybody were to create what they did, even without looking at it, they would probably come up with something very similar because those are just what you use to do that. So I think I think that's more or less just a shot in the dark, because you can draw up a lot more like anger and hostility around saying something was stolen from you. I think the real issue that a lot of people have, though, is the paywalling, to be honest. Like, I really struggle to understand why the developer Lucky One was going after Quasi specifically. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, this whole thing is so weird. This whole thing is so weird to me. So yeah, I completely understand people's uncomfortable, like the uncomfortable situation with the idea that Quasi, by selling his UI, even in if it's only going to be in pre-patch, again, we don't know, seems to just be breaking Blizzard's terms of service. And again, it is up to Blizzard to take action on that or not. Like, they need to do that if that is the case. I'm not a developer, so when it comes to the one-to-one stealing stuff, I don't know. It was this very public thing that, like, someone said it without it. The Lucky One guy said it without any evidence, and then he later showed the evidence, and then, you know, developers like you looked at the evidence, said, this is not like, it's not like he lifted like the entire UI one-to-one. It's just like for checking monitor size and scaling based on monitor size, which, like, even if you did just like one day sit down at your computer and be like, oh, okay, I need to scale based on monitor size, and then you turn over to ElvUI and say, how did they do it? Oh, you did it like this, and just you copy paste that little bit of the code, even if like that's all you did. And I'm not saying that in and of itself is a good thing, but that is not the way the original tweet was worded. That is not what I expected to be happening. I expected that what we were being told here is that he basically lifted code, like the vast majority of how this thing works, from ElvUI and just copied it over. Mm-hmm. The thing that I do know about Quasi, whether you like him or his practices of charging money for this stuff, the thing I do know, and I saw a lot of people say this, he worked his fucking ass off on this thing. He was doing like ElvUI, you know, threw in the tower and said, we're not going to do anything for midnight. And people like Quasi stepped up and said, okay, I am. And he was releasing multiple versions per week. He was like sitting in Discord with people, like going through their like bug reporting. He worked his butt off on it. Now, does that make it okay to steal things? No, it doesn't. And if he did steal a lot of the stuff, that's bad. And does it make it okay to charge for it if you're breaking Blizzard terms of service? No, it doesn't. But like, this whole thing just seems kind of absurd to me. Like, it just really seems absurd to me. Like, I don't know why, like, I think all these add-on developers are nervous and a little bit edgy because this whole thing is changing very dynamically and quickly, and what is going to be allowed and what isn't, and all this stuff. And so everyone's just a little bit on edge, and they're getting pissed off at each other. And I don't know. I will say, I also feel that Quasi's response to these accusations was a little silly. He has quit the game, deleted his entire online presence. And like, again, I don't know the full scope of what was stolen and what was not stolen. I'm not a developer. I don't understand code that way. But it's not a good look when someone says, you stole this, and you say, nuh-uh, and then they say, yeah-huh, and then you say, okay, bye forever.
Yeah. So I'm going to be completely real. I really like Quasi. I'm a very neutral party in this whole endeavor and argument, though. Like, I think both sides, personally, like, I think Lucky One could have handled this privately. I don't think that this needed to be handled publicly. And if he tried and then he made it public, then I'll eat my words there. But I also think that Quasi shouldn't have been breaking TOS, or at least the veil of breaking TOS, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So 100% echoing what you said. I really don't have a horse in this fight. I never used Quasi's UI. I dabbled about trying it in the past, but it never really fit my needs as much.
Yeah.
And I regularly use ElvUI, and this whole disagreement or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I still have ElvUI installed. I don't know if I'm going to use it going into midnight, but I don't know if that's directly because of this drama. I think that's just because there might be better options. So, yeah, I really don't have a horse in this race, I guess is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Both sides are fucking childish. Like, honestly, that's just the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that Quasi has been accused of stealing code in the past, apparently. Like, this is all news to me. I'm catching up on this. So, like, I don't know. This whole thing feels weird to me. Especially the parts about like AI generated code. Like, because we haven't even talked about like the Neff UI side of it, where he just basically said, yeah, I like Grok wrote this entire UI. Yes. So like, as a person who spends pretty much all their free time like watching and thinking about art, whether it be film, TV, video games, like I would not say I'm like a super pro AI guy. I'm not. However, when it comes to like making Lua code for an user interface, I don't give a shit. Like I really don't give a shit if I get a UI that's working and someone says, he did this using AI. He didn't write it himself. I'm like, I don't care. I just really don't care. Like, now if you tell me Blizzard made their game using generative AI, then I would care about that. But like someone in their free time making a UI using ChatGPT to write I don't give a shit. I don't care. There's so many bigger things to worry about than that. So I have no skin in that game whatsoever. But I just like, I don't know. I feel like everyone's on edge because of the add-on stuff, and this was just like the perfect thing to happen at the perfect time, where we're just like, oh yeah, we've been itching to yell at each other over things, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern is how quickly like people are so divided anymore. Like, it is so easy to turn people against each other, and you have like fans of Lucky One, you have fans of Quasi, and then they're going at each other, and then they're going after the creators, and yada yada yada. And like, we need to not do that. Like, this is nothing more than something that needs to be handled by them. If Quasi is stealing code and has stolen code in the past, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that, especially like if you're monetizing it. That's even more wrong.
Right. Like, morally stealing code is bad, but like, if you're not making any money off of it, if you're stealing someone's code and then saying this is Scott UI and I built it myself and it's free and you can have it, like, that's not good. But like, I'm not going to call the police on you. But if you're going to take someone's code and then monetize the thing you have released using it, that does cross a line. And I think, again, Blizzard, my dudes, now is the time.
Yeah.
Update your stance on premium UI stuff right now. Like, right now. This week, release a statement on it.
It does beg the question, though. Like, what do we need to... I don't know. So, like, the reason I'm struggling right now to even like formulate a sentence is because what we are talking about, like, let's put this into perspective for everybody. What we are talking about is 99% people doing stuff on their free time, not for a job, not to get paid, and then giving it to you for free. And then the people who are consuming that are also going back to them and complaining that they're not doing the thing that they like. The add-on devs are in a lose-lose situation. Sure. Just in general, like from the beginning, they're doing something for people who then get it. And then I don't know, I guess they think it's their full-time job or something like that. And then they go back. So yeah, it's really hard to like have a concrete statement on this, because this is kind of like a labor of love thing. Like, it is not something where we should be expecting one thing or another out of these add-on devs, because it is quite literally passion projects and things that they're doing in their free time just cuz.
Yeah. I mean, 100% correct. Like, these people probably deserve the amount of time and effort these people put into this stuff. They probably deserve to be rewarded monetarily in some way. And maybe this is why Blizzard has like looked at this stuff and said, you know, we're just not gonna make any stance on this because we don't want to because these people are spending a lot of their time fixing our UI for us and making it functional for us, and closing this loophole would really limit their ability to do that. I understand that. Personally, as a person who podcasts and releases them all for free, but also has a Patreon, I think that is a model that seems to work. That, like, I think Quasi, before he even paywalled this stuff, was doing pretty good on Patreon. If you look at it, like, he was having people support him. And the thing is, in this ecosystem, when you are a content creator that people like, that also is making tools for them, a lot of times people just support you financially because they like you and want to help you. And that's the case with me. Like my Patreon, and this, not for the show, for something else I do, is I have some bonus stuff on there, but I have very limited time and we can't do as much bonus stuff as we want. But whenever I talk to my patrons, the thing they tell me over and over again is like, don't worry about it, man. Release what you can. We're not subscribing for the bonus stuff. That's just a bonus. We're subscribing because we want to help you out. And I think if Blizzard were to tomorrow come out with a statement that says, we're done, you cannot charge for any of this stuff. If you charge for anything related to add-ons, whether it is profiles, add-ons themselves, anything, if you charge money for this, we are going to ban you. We're shutting it down. Not only ban you, we will send our lawyers after you. If they do that tomorrow, I still think there will be add-on developers, and I still think there will be ways to give the developers of the add-ons you support, monetary support. Because I think we want to talk about loophole. I don't even think it's a loophole. It's like, I made this add-on for you. I release it free of charge. Also, you can donate money to me on Ko-fi or on Patreon or something completely independently of that. Yeah. I don't know. That is, I think, the model that I think we probably just need to go to here, because I think it is leading to shit like this. It is leading to code stealing and bad behavior and drama and confusion. And it's 2026, Blizzard. It's not 2009. Release a statement. What is the rule? What is the definitive rule on this? And are you going to actually enforce it?
For what it's worth, Scott, completely tangential to what we're about to be talking, or what we are talking about, Atrocity is updating his UI, so I don't have to jump ship and go to anybody else now. I can just use Atrocity's UI again during midnight
for a low price of $5 a month.
It's not even $5 a month.
I mean, it's literally just $5
every season.
Yeah,
like, if you want to update it every time. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked into what he's doing at all, but I think he's kind of like like hiding in the background of all this drama, because I think essentially his UI is no longer just profiles too, right? There's other stuff in there. There's other add-ons in there. Now perhaps I think one of the things you are paying Atrocity for, and this is another one of these weird gray areas of this whole thing, is maybe the idea is all these add-ons are free and you can get all these profiles free, or maybe you can't get the profiles free, but all the add-ons are free. But like, isn't it a pain in the ass to go get them all and then set them up the way you want them? And with me, you can press a button and it's done. It's done for you. And that's what you're paying for. And frankly, I am fine paying for that. And I don't even know how that falls into our new paradigm of, like, if Blizzard gives the axe to this whole thing. Well, how does that work? If I'm just paying someone a convenience fee to set up my UI for me, I don't know.
In my opinion, unless it's something like I said, with Zygor or with Resta XP, I'm perfectly fine, because like if it's just something that you could do on your own but you don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd rather just have somebody else do it for you, I've never had a problem with that.
Yeah.
And in fact, I take advantage of that. I don't want to. I've set up ElvUI in the past. I don't want to do it again. I
Yeah.
don't. Just let somebody else do it for me.
I've been trapped in my house for 3 days due to a snowstorm. I don't want to go get that pizza. I'm gonna pay someone to bring me that pizza.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know that you and I really have much else to cover on this. It's the big thing that happened lately, and it is really dividing a lot of people in the WoW community. Again, like I said, it's fans of one person, fans of another person kind of going at each other. And I think that that's really starting all the drama. In the future, things like this can be handled privately. They don't need to be blasted on social media. We live in an era where people go to social media before they talk to each other anymore.
Yeah.
And talk to each other. But yeah, anything else to cover on this from you, Scott?
No, I think everybody's stupid, and I include myself in that. I think this whole thing is very silly, and I if I had Quasi's ear, I would be like, dude, why did you do the whole dramatic fine? Sometimes I think with these dramatic fine, I'm quitting things, it's like there was a piece of him somewhere in the back of his mind that kind of didn't want to do this anymore, and then like the second he had a reason, he just jumped on it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's fine. You don't want to play this game your whole life. You've kind of trapped yourself in a corner where suddenly it's the main source of your income and you feel like you have to keep doing it even if you're not enjoying it anymore. And then suddenly you get an out, you get a scapegoat. Or not, I mean a scapegoat. You just get a reason, you jump on it. So I don't know. I've also heard that he did this back in Shadowlands and made a big dramatic move of quitting WoW and deleting all his characters and I'm never playing this game again and going to Final Fantasy 14 and then came back quietly. So I would not be surprised if 2 months from now, like Quasi's just like quietly playing the game again. I do think it is rather silly that we had to have a whole big internet screaming at each other fight about something so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I will be, however, like on the same topic of add-ons, I'm going to be trying to keep as close of a pulse on this as I can going into midnight, because I am intrigued to see what happens. I think we are going into midnight in a worse state than we were in the War Within, is my initial take. I will be interested to see how it plays out as we go through midnight, though. I think things have gotten more complicated and more annoying, and we haven't really hit the crux of the issue that Blizzard wanted to solve in the first place. But we talked about that last week, so
yeah. Yep. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, as far as other things for this week, there's really not a ton else. Like we heard rumblings from an interview that they are looking at old zones and it's hard to kind of update them for The Last Titan. Again, it's not really much of a story. There's not much there. But in the kind of current climate we're in, as far as like new things happening, it's kind of all we got. So I guess, Scott, like, do you want to take a second to talk about the whole anniversary TBC thing? I have some thoughts on this. I know you're not a huge classic guy, but I've played the anniversary servers. I played hardcore when they were on the anniversary servers. I loved that, by the way, but I don't think I loved that because it was classic WoW. I think I loved that because it was a different way to experience a game that I've played for 20 years.
Sure.
You know, like, and I wanted to do like a whole kind of like video essay on it. And I still have that in the back of my mind on why hardcore was a good thing. But I just like, Blizzard is going down this rabbit hole of like re-release and then re-release and then re-release again. Like, we have already played through Burning Crusade. We have already played through Burning Crusade Classic. And now we are playing through Burning Crusade Vanilla Classic, Anniversary Classic, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And I just like, when we get to Wrath, are we just going to do anniversary servers and we're going to start back at vanilla again, and then we're gonna go all the way to Wrath, and then we're gonna like rewind. Like, are we gonna have 7 different timelines of this game going all at one time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the outside looking in on this one because I don't understand why we're wanting to do this again. I mean, I guess on some level I do understand the appeal of this mode of the game and getting to do it fresh, and that's fun. I think it's wild the number of boosts that they've sold for this thing is kind of crazy to me that like not only are people really itching to do this again, but are going to shell out a bunch of money to do it again. Um, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of nostalgia there. This was, of course, a very good version of the game, and it was a very exciting version of the game. I remember going through the Dark Portal for the first time and like how exciting that was. I remember that. It was cool. Yeah, I don't know. I am a little unable to fully comprehend the desire to do it again.
So I do have a question for you, and this is kind of like a speculation question. Do you think Blizzard, and honestly, do you think the players who are going through Anniversary and coming back for TBC, like specifically the people who are coming to the Anniversary servers because TBC is being released, do you think those people are coming back because they want to play TBC Classic? Or do you think we are so starved in the MMO space that like this is essentially a new MMO dropping and the most fun time to play an MMO is on release?
I mean, a little of both. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of wanting to feel an MMO game that felt like MMO games felt like back in the day. Um, I don't know. Like I said, I'm so on the outside of the pulse of this thing, and I'm so like uninterested entirely in partaking in it that like even trying to speculate like what is going through people's mind as they make these decisions is beyond me. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, by the way. I don't want to make it seem like what I'm saying is those people are stupid and I don't get it. I'm just like I'm not the target audience for it. And so I can't really speculate on like what is driving people to do it. I mean, we have friends that like really dove into the Anniversary stuff and like really went hardcore on it
Mhm.
on vanilla WoW again, and
Yep.
it's just like okay, like I'm really happy for you. I really am. That's just not me. It can't. I just don't like I said. I tried a season of Discovery and like the early leveling I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Um, and I'd be lying if there's times that I haven't thought about just like, I really don't have time to like do dungeons right now in World of Warcraft, but I could hop on and do some leveling. And there's really no space for that in retail
Yeah.
because it lasts 45 minutes now. So like I get why wanting to have a game like that and the old school MMO of this is really like the only game that you play and you spend all your time doing it and it's the whole game is the journey, yada yada yada. I get it all. I just can't believe it's still so popular that we're gonna do it. Like when Anniversary servers were announced, I was like, oh okay, they're just doing that again. It's like yay, classic again. I was not prepared for the amount of hype that TPC classic brought. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, I thought Anniversary servers were going to be like just a seasonal thing. Like,
Yeah,
we're going to do this thing and then we're going to
it's
wipe
been
and we're
over a
going to go back.
year.
I didn't think that Anniversary servers would ever go to TBC. And now that opens up the floodgates of like, are they going to Wrath? Are they gonna do another reset? Are they so that's what I was saying. Like, are we gonna have 7 timelines of this game? Yeah, I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter. There's a lot going on with Anniversary. So if you are somebody who's enjoying that, I mean, TBC did just release. Hopefully you're having a good time with that. Um, I am, however, interested to see how far this goes. I mean, that was my take on original classic, and I was excited for that because I never played vanilla. Like I never played World of Warcraft. I started in TBC. And so like to experience vanilla through the lens of not a private server, but how Blizzard intended me to go through it, that was kind of interesting to me. And now, they decided that they wanted to release TBC, and then they kept going and going and going and going, and now we're in Mists. And like again, how far does this go? How far does Anniversary go? How many re-releases are we doing while still developing the actual game is interesting to me. I want to say my take on a lot of the classic stuff is actually kind of in line with what Preach was saying the other day. So for anybody who doesn't watch Preach, and for anybody who doesn't care about RuneScape, I guess ignore what I'm about to say. But Preach was sponsored to play old school RuneScape. And he went into it with very kind of open anticipation on what was going to happen. And as he was interfacing with it and realizing that like the UI is from 2004 and this is from 2004, and there's a lot of like stinky, icky old game dev design choices that were made. And he's just like, things aren't really making sense and they're kind of bumping into each other. And like, that's kind of how I feel with classic World of Warcraft. And I enjoy old school RuneScape. So I don't really have the issues that he had there because I've been playing it my whole life. But that's my problem with classic WoW though, is like I have this new shiny, in my opinion, more fleshed out, better thought out, better progression paths version of the game, but I'm choosing to just strip all of that away and go play something that to me is more annoying. So that's always been my hiccup with a lot of things in classic.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great line of thinking, actually, because what I'm thinking about now is this, you said, is this popular because it's like we're just starved in the MMO space for experiences like this? And that's a really interesting thought, because on the one hand, I think, yes, we are. On the other hand, every time a new game comes out that like tries to recreate that experience, it fails.
Mm-hmm.
And part of, like, I have to think that part of this is you get the MMO experience of the journey and the social aspects of it, and the only game you have to play, yada 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 yada. But the game has been figured out, right? Like classic World of Warcraft has been figured out. So there's all this stuff that's dated and clunky and not as smooth as the retail version, but everyone knows it. And there's a perfect understanding of what's the best at everything and what to do and where to go. Like how many of the people that play classic, like use this rest XP guides or whatever, like everything has been figured out. And so there's this comfort, and it's not even nostalgia, but it's just like comfort in, we get to do this thing that makes that is like this specific experience that only MMORPGs can bring, but we don't have the uncomfortable part of it, which is that I don't understand what I'm doing. Am I doing the wrong thing? Am I making the wrong choices? Am I like all that stuff? You don't have to have any of that. So you kind of get the best of both worlds type thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Anyways, there's not really much I want to say on this further. Again, just wanted to call it out because we are in TBC now on the anniversary realms and things like that. But yeah, I'm interested. Again, I feel like I'm in the same boat as I am with add-ons. Like it's a wait and see. I'm interested to see how things unfold because with add-ons, like I'm going to be paying for Atrocities UI. So I'm kind of an outside looking in on add-ons right now because I'm not going to have to fuck with them. But for the same reason, I'm outside looking in on classic WoW, and I'm interested to see where it goes in 10 years too, and how far we go with this. People say like milking the cow. I don't even know that that's necessarily it. Maybe it is, but I feel like there's a lot more to it than that. I think that if you are just thinking of it as like Blizzard's trying to get everything, that all the money that they can from classic World of Warcraft, I think that's along the lines of the like, you think you do, but you don't argument. Because yeah, they're trying to get more money out of it, but also people continue and continue and continue to ask for things with
Yeah.
classic. So I think that's the wrong viewpoint.
I mean, it might be milking the cow, but lattes are delicious. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Are you the type of person who will be playing Classic Plus if it happens no matter what? Or is there like specific things you would need to see in it before you would make that determination?
I would play it no matter what because I would like to see what happens. Like, I would like to see what Blizzard does. It's the same reason I played Season of Discovery.
Sure.
I tried that. It was fun. It was interesting. It was novel, but I didn't play past the first season.
So, I mean, let's just do 5 minutes of mindless speculation here. Do you think that a Blizzard version of Classic Plus is fresh server? So we're doing WoW Classic, Classic, Classic again, 2.0 plus plus, where it starts off fresh and you work your way 1 to 60 just like Classic, and then it builds off of there? Or do you think it's a kind of ground up new experience? The experience of leveling from 1 to 60 will be changed.
So I think my problem is if we look at previous success stories of people who have rolled back to older versions of their game and then created something out of it, Old School RuneScape is the only one that I can really think of. There's more, obviously. I think there's like EverQuest servers that are up that have done kind of the same thing. But anyways, Old School RuneScape is the one I'm thinking of. They just rolled back game as it was in 2007. Here you go. That's what we got initially.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think Blizzard will do that? I don't. And the reason
that already exists, right? Yeah. We already have that.
And the reason I further don't think that, people are calling out like Turtle WoW and other private servers that did the Classic Plus thing as like, we would like to see this. And so I think Blizzard has more burden on their shoulders to do something more ground up, add classes from the beginning, add specs from the beginning, change, some of the questing, maybe change some of the zones, change the dungeons. So I do think they have a bigger burden on their shoulders if they want to impress more people with a Classic Plus version of the game.
Well, how much of that can they change before it doesn't feel like Classic anymore? I mean, because that was the Season of Discovery stuff, right? It was just like, and maybe that's like, that was obviously a much smaller experiment than a Classic Plus would be.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that was just throwing retail skills into Classic to the point where your class stops feeling like
Classic.
Like, I mean, and this goes back to and maybe we don't have to get into this today because this is like an hour conversation on its own, but like this goes back to the central idea of like, what do you want out of Classic Plus? And like, because there's some people that say, I don't want you to change anything. I just want more content. I want it to be exactly like Classic World of Warcraft, but new dungeons, new zones type thing. And there's some people that are like, no, that's not what I want. That's like an expansion, kind of. I want a different experience, but that makes me feel like I'm still playing Classic World of Warcraft. So I don't know, man. That feels like a Herculean task.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of it is going to come down to what identity makes Classic. If Blizzard deems that the classes and the way that they play are what makes Classic, then I don't think there'll be any new classes. And they'll just release with what they have, and they can change and update quests or dungeons or anything from that. Now, Blizzard could deem it's the leveling experience. And if that's the case, then maybe we don't get any new quests, but they can feel free to modify the dungeons or add new classes or something like that. So really, and it's funny because like this is out of passion for the community that this is even being brought up, but it doesn't really matter too much what each individual person wants, because at the end of the day, Blizzard's going to make the decision on what they feel is going to be the most successful. And maybe that isn't even the most popular, but what they feel is going to make the best game. And that's what it's going to be. So I don't know. I don't think they're going to change all of it all at once.
Yeah,
I do think you have a point.
Isn't this a weird this is kind of a weird paradigm on that, because like Blizzard making the decisions that they think are best for the game
Is how we got retail.
is what retail is. Whereas
Yeah.
like it seems like a Classic Plus is almost specifically a thing that's like, we are trying to give you what you want.
Mhm.
And so how does like the decision making process and what you develop and what you don't, how and what people want and expect out of this, how does all that tie into what they ultimately end up doing here?
Yeah, I mean, the only success story that I've seen of this, and the only way that I can imagine that they would, is how RuneScape does it, where the developers have ideas, they pull them on anybody who has like an active sub or has been sub for so much amount of time or is a certain level or whatever criteria that they want to make gets to vote. And if it passes, so RuneScape does 75% is a pass. Anything below that's a fail. And so if it passes, then it gets implemented. And RuneScape's gotten to a point where like the things that they pull are already kind of half in development. And so if they don't pass, then, you know, it's a little bit of wasted stuff, maybe, but a lot of the time they'll go back and they'll rework it and then they'll propose it again. And so it's like you get the poll, but you don't have to wait 2 years for something to be implemented that you voted on. It gets implemented fairly quickly after you vote yes or no on it.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. The thing I go back to with this, and as the last thing I'll say, I promise, is like, at what point does this no longer become economically feasible for them, right? Like, I think the thing about Classic and the reason why when they decided to do it and embraced it as wholeheartedly as they did is because they could basically run it off of like $1. I mean, it was very cheap to run. It was
server
very
fees,
low.
that's it, right?
Yeah. It was very low dev time. They had to have some development stuff to rework things, and they have to do that every new patch and new expansion. That they have to have some dev time to kind of rework everything. But essentially, from the most expensive parts of development, you've completely dodged in Classic, and so you're just really getting to reap the rewards.
Yeah.
At what point does it become like, obviously if they were going to spend money and dev time on this, they have to see the economic value in it, that like this will keep people subbed, it will bring people back to the game, it will keep the state of Classic WoW in this perpetual money making cycle. Otherwise they wouldn't do it. Otherwise they would just say, like, run the numbers and say, hey, if we release anniversary servers every 2 years and just do this again, it's going to give us the same amount of money or a comparable amount of money or what have you. So I don't know what the economics of that thing look like what it has to achieve to be a success, because like I don't even know how they measure that, right? Because like, I mean, I guess they can monitor on active WoW subs who of those active subs, who's playing Classic, who's playing retail. Like they have that information, but I think it's much more difficult to like track a success of a project like that than like how many boxes did we sell?
Yeah. So I would wager to guess if Classic Plus gets announced, it will be a very, very small dev team, a handful maybe of engineers on that.
Yeah.
And if it turns numbers good, then I think they'll add more and they'll add more and they'll add more and they'll add more, until eventually, you know, if this thing becomes large, then it has like a full scale development team, just like retail does. Or, I mean, we could live in a world where retail developers get pulled over and retail starts to kind of dwindle. I don't think that that's anywhere in the near future, but you know, those are always possibilities that could happen. And we're just going to have to see how it goes, because I completely agree. I think as far as monetary value goes right now, Blizzard is not going to do any more than probably a small dev team on Classic Plus if Classic Plus gets announced.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, I guess that the reason for stating this is that I think people need to level set expectations, where the idea that they're going to announce Classic Plus and it's going to be this giant new game with all new art and zones and then like immediately is probably not what's going to go down. That I think you're right. It's much more realistic that we do kind of a slow ramp where they're constantly checking and reassessing popularity and what spend is worth it and it is not worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see.
Well, I was going to say, Scott, I don't really have much else for today. I know this was a relatively short episode. I know a lot of it was off the cuff. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before you wrap up, Scott?
Nope. I guess next week we'll touch in on whatever got announced on Thursday. But no, that's all I have.
Yeah, instead of our ugly mugs, I'll just have the timeline on the screen the entire hour and a half, whatever the episode ends up being.
And we'll be zooming in enhance. What is that in the lower right hand corner of the timeline? What is that?
But, all right, guys. So the question I have for you this week is, are you leveling anything in the pre-patch event? I guess. I don't know. I feel like at this point, if you are leveling something and you've been playing WoW for, 20 plus years or whatever, like me, it's I don't know. I've never had to level anything from scratch because I've always had everything maxed. So interested to see if anybody else is leveling anything in time walking or whatever. Or maybe you're weird like one of our friends and you're leveling your 95th lock. So but anyways, guys, you can contact us over at yellingintothevoidwow@gmail.com. YouTube is at yellingintothevoidwow, and Twitter and Blue Sky are both at intothevoidwow.
And please make sure you subscribe to this podcast. You can find it wherever you get podcasts. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of the other ones. I think those are really the only two big players, and everyone else is just riding off their coattails at this point. But we're out there. We're on all of them.
And then lastly, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting on the YouTube video, the Spotify recording. All of that helps us get more exposure, introduces us to new people, and allows us to continue what we're doing here. But guys, until next week, we'll just be over here yelling into the void.
Is that where Quasi went? Did he go into the
void?
The void?
Yeah. We might see him.